Hi, I'm Chris Mancini. I'm going to teach you how to teach your dog to put the toys away. Thank you, Sandy. What we need before we do anything else is just a basic hold. If you've got a basic hold, then you can teach your dog to actually start to place things in items so that we can hold the toy, put it in a box. We can pick up a letter and post it in the letter box. You can do a huge variety. Assistance dogs have a massive repertoire which just includes the hold. Hold is actually a big chain of behaviours. There's 4 or 5 behaviours involved in the hold because the dog has got to go to an article, it's got to pick it up, then it's got to keep it in its mouth, then it's got to return either to you or to somewhere else and either give the article to you or place it in some kind of receptacle, either a toy box or if they're playing quoits, they can place it over a hoop or basketball, they're putting it in a hoop. So say once you've got the basic hold though, you can really quickly generalise the behaviours. Now, depending on the dog, some dogs are quite happy with firmer, hard articles, but other dogs, like you might want to use something soft. The easiest way to teach the hold is to teach the last bit first. And what you do, you don't show the item to the dog ideally until you're ready to start, so you're ready with your clicker and your treats, and then we would just put the item down. The chances are the dog's going to go and sniff it. Yeah? So you may only get a sniff, yes, initially. So she's just sniffing at the item at the moment. She opened her mouth there, so great. So now she's actually opening her mouth. Dumbbell's quite nice because you've got like a little middle bit, so they're going to, tend to pick up in the centre of it. Well done. If you have got a reluctant holder, this isn't the only way to teach your dog to retrieve. If you've got a dog that's keen and understands clicker training, then it's the best way. But you may want to move it about on the floor a bit. Hey, that got you excited anyway, didn't it? So that they're a bit more interested in the item. You might want something soft, again, just for them to grab onto. You can wiggle it around. You can get something called a flirt stick. Lurchers and greyhounds and that type of dog really like those if they're reluctant holders. That often will get them holding. So now she's fairly reliably holding on to the item in my hand. Now this is where it starts to get tricky, and this is where people start to click at the wrong time and actually start rewarding the dog for letting go of the item rather than holding on. Now I'm going to start letting go of the item now. Yay, good girl. The click marks the end of the behaviour, so it's fine for her to drop it on the floor at the moment, it doesn't matter. But I want to make sure I'm clicking while it's in her mouth still, because otherwise they learn it must be pick up and spit out. Good girl, very good. And because she's fairly close to me and she knows she's going to get a reward, they tend to turn back towards you, which is great. Fine, I clicked her, she spat it out. I think it's only because she hadn't swallowed a treat properly that time, but... she's still holding on. You can show the next stage in a minute then. Well done, good girl. Once they're at that stage, you can fairly quickly get to moving the item a little bit further away. Good girl, well done. I'm not trying to grab it or whatever, I'm just letting her drop it in my hand at the moment. Again, that's quite useful. Good girl. Because I'm not doing a formal retrieve. If I was doing a formal retrieve, we'd be doing it slightly differently. Good girl, very good. Sandy's had a little bit of training with the retrieve, obviously, so she is picking this up quite quickly. Good girlie. So now we're at that stage. Yes, good girl, I forgot to click. If we want to transfer that now, what we might do is just change it for a different item just to see if she's comfortable with other things. Oh yes, she is. I think we can start introducing a cue for you. Hold. Yep. Because then they should start to generalise that hold means go and pick up something you're pointing at. When you really want to get to the advanced stage, you can actually start to name items like remote control or bottle of beer out of the fridge, whatever it is you want them to pick up. Hold. So she's coming back, returning to my hand. So now what we can do, if we're going to teach her to put something in the toy box, Sandy, hold. She's actually a bit, yes, good girl. She's actually a bit little for this big toy box. I'm going to start to hold my hand. Yes, good girl. So hand over the box, and that drops in the box. Often I'll drop a treat in the box just to encourage them to look in the box because the chances are they're going to release it. So you can click for that behaviour. Yeah, so click now because you want to start getting your hand out of the way a little bit. So now we are actually going to click as they're holding their head over the box. Item lands in the thing and the treat comes. And then eventually, after a little while, once they've got the idea of that, again you're going to try it with another article. Yes, good girl, well done. And then what you would start to do, see, she's still coming to my hand at the moment. Yay, well done. So she's not quite worked out, obviously, yet. That's a little bit. I'm going to click that. I don't care it's fallen outside the box at the moment. That's really not a problem. She's going to the right area. Hold. Good girl. Excellent. Good girlie. Well done. Yay, good girl. So can you see my hand's starting to fade now? She's not having to rely on going to that. She's kind of thinking about it a little bit more. Good girl. Well done. It's just having the confidence just to wait out a little bit and trust the dog because they're a lot brighter than we think. That's your last one. Good girl. Make it a good one. Was I asking too much of you? Good girl, excellent. Well done, darling. That was very good. Sandy's small, she could probably do with slightly lower box, but if you start off with a bigger box initially, it just makes it easier because they've got a larger area to drop things into. So if not necessary, you can drop a treat in there just to encourage them to go to that area and spit out the article to retrieve the treat. And then if you want to, you can make it slightly smaller. You can get boxes with lids down and teach them to shut the lid on top of their toys afterwards. And then once they've got the idea, once again, you're going to cut down on the repetitions of rewards, and you're going to start sending them out for a variety of times before they get a reward. So they might go and put 3 or 4 toys away before they get a reward, till eventually they're going around the house, picking up all the toys, putting them in the box, doing the tidying up at night, saving you clearing up after them. So once they've got the basics of the hold and they understand putting their toys in the box, then you can start to move on and teach them other fun stuff like playing netball, for example. So they're fetching a ball, Duffy, or some other item and placing it in the net. Thank you, good boy. You're going to place that in the net, are you? Yes.